and work that are underway, some of which I would just briefly mention, not suggesting that they are not important, but just that I have not managed my time well. I'm painfully aware of this. This year we have introduced a new Women 20 engagement group to promote better integration of women into the economy, including the G20's target to reduce gap in participation rates between men and women into the labor force by 25% by 25. The official launch was held on, again, earlier this month, and the Turkish Prime Minister was there, the IMF Managing Director, OECD Secretary General, and Deputy Executive Director of the UN Women was there. Besides W20, we have also held a meeting of the Y20, Youth 20 meeting in Istanbul. The Y20 communiqué called on the G20 leaders to set a concrete, quantifiable, and collective target on reducing youth unemployment. A civil 20 summit is being held or will be held on 15th September, and will provide the Turkish presidency with significant contributions of the civil society. Trade, Ambassador Sakling has referred to. I will not delve on this. It's a very important area, and it's a continuing focus under the Turkish presidency as well. Now, of course, I've given a broad overview of the priorities and highlighted some of the most important elements of our work plan. It's indeed an intensive and challenging agenda. We need to be ambitious. The stakes are high for billions of people around the world, and there is no other forum or institution that is better suited and more representative than the G20 in addressing the contemporary economic challenges of the world. In fact, I dare say, if we did not have this forum today, we would be lamenting its absence and probably striving unsuccessfully to create it from scratch. And it is with such sense of responsibility that successive presidencies and the memberships have endeavored to fulfill the objectives of the G20. And it's this very sense that will be guiding our efforts in the remaining time until the Antalya summit, after which we will hand the baton to China. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. The expositions that have just been presented, I think, highlight the breadth of the G20 agenda as it has developed over the last 10 years or so, at least over the last 10 summits, since the Turkish summit is going to be the 10th of the G20 summits. The time remaining for what was meant to be a discussion session is rather small. I believe we've already overshot our schedule. So I'm afraid there will really only be 10 minutes for whatever questions or comments members of the audience wish to offer. I request that, as usual, you kindly identify yourselves and whom you represent, and also keep your comments, stroke observations, stroke questions to the barest minimum. So the floor is open. Sir, in first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Herbert Dieter from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs in Berlin. A question to High Commissioner Sakling on the potential for a conclusion of the Doha round in 2016. You have been quite optimistic with regard to the ability of the G20 to mobilize support for the multilateral trading system. At least that was my understanding. As you mentioned, Australia is doing all sorts of things in other fora, but it turns out to be more difficult than the supporters of the mega regionals have thought. TTIP is in difficult waters, TPP is in difficult waters, so do you see that there would be a possibility for a G20 push for the conclusion of the Doha round. Probably not this year, but 2016 might be a good opportunity. Obama's last year in office and so on and so forth, a number of factors. I don't want to elaborate, just a question to you. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Obama's office ending next year might be one reason why it doesn't happen in 2016. So we feel that there was progress made in Bali last year, and there's quite a bit of implementation happening on that now in the context of the WTO. So there has been forward movement and positive forward movement. As you probably know, there was a sense of crisis in the WTO that if that couldn't be knocked over, the Bali trade facilitation agenda and other things, then there were real question marks about the future of the WTO. So at least that has been moved along and is currently looking in pretty good order. But the negotiations in terms of the broader package, as I understand it, I'm not hugely close to it, but as I understand it, will require some further significant discussions which are unlikely to all be wrapped up by next year.
Yes. Chip in. Of course, trade is another very important part of the agenda. What we feel is that representing some 76% of the world trade, G20 countries should lead by example in collective work to ensure that an open and functioning multilateral trade system is established, and the WTO's core position needs to be strengthened as well. And it's a fact that for the first time in over 4 decades, trade has grown more slowly than the global economy. Trade grew no more than 3% over the last 3 years, and compared to the pre-crisis average of some 7%. So there's something to watch out for there. It's very important to understand whether this is part of a global cyclical phenomenon, or is it the result of some structural changes that are happening. There's an important, of course, study underway. The IMF and the World Bank Group are examining this phenomenon, including through a breakdown analysis of trade slowdown, to disaggregate the trends in the trade of intermediate and final goods. We will hopefully able to see whether there are changing patterns in international production and composition of global value chains. Protectionism is also had a role in the trade slowdown. The G20's commitment to fighting protectionism remains unchanged. So since Brisbane, a very important step for the G20 countries to support the multilateral trading system this year is on completing the ratification processes of the trade facilitation agreement agreed by WTO members last year. The Turkish presidency is doing its best to encourage the G20 partners to do so promptly, accepting, of course, each country has their own national circumstances and processes. We will also watch closely the progress on the negotiations on, as you mentioned, the Doha development round, and the preparation of the December meeting in Nairobi of the WTO ministerial. The G20 is also providing political support to the progress in Geneva, including on the post-Bali work program, and how this ties into the U.S. elections is, of course, is anybody's guess, I think.
I'm afraid with that we will have to bring this session to a close, but we've ended on, I think, a forward-leaning perspective, so I think that bodes well. Thank you all for your attention, and thank our speakers for their insightful comments.